What if the most powerful tool you use every day, the one that answers your questions, guides your travels, and connects you to the world, was born from a dream? Not just a dream of organizing information, but a dream of understanding it. A dream that began in the mind of a quiet, unassuming boy obsessed with taking things apart. This isn't just a story about technology. It's the story of a question that reshaped our reality. What if we could download the entire web and just keep the links? Larry Page grew up in a world of circuits and code. His father was a pioneer in computer science, a professor at Michigan State University, and his mother taught computer programming. The family home wasn't just a house. It was a workshop of ideas, littered with early computers and popular science magazines. For young Larry, technology wasn't a sterile subject taught in a classroom. It was the language of his family, the air he breathed. While other kids were outside playing sports, Larry was often found with a screwdriver in hand, methodically disassembling every electronic device he could find. He wasn't just curious about how things worked. He had an insatiable need to see the components, to understand the logic that held them together. He wasn't always successful at putting them back together, much to his older brother's frustration, but the process ignited a unique way of thinking. He wasn't just seeing objects, he was seeing systems. This early fascination with systems wasn't just a hobby, it was the foundation of his entire worldview. At the age of 12, he read the biography of Nikola Tesla, the brilliant, misunderstood inventor. Larry was deeply moved, not just by Tesla's genius, but by his tragic end, a man who died in poverty, his world-changing ideas largely unrecognized in his lifetime. He reportedly wept. It was a formative moment. Larry decided then that it wasn't enough to invent something revolutionary. You had to have a vision for how to bring it to the world, how to make it impactful, and how to build a business around it so that it wouldn't die on the vine. This insight, conceived by a 12-year-old boy, would become the silent engine driving his entire career. He realized that a brilliant idea without a path to scale is just a forgotten dream. As he moved through his teenage years and into his time at the University of Michigan, his mind was always churning. He was known for being intensely quiet in large groups, yet fiercely passionate in one-on-one conversations about big, audacious ideas. He built a working inkjet printer out of Lego bricks, not just for the technical challenge, but to prove a point about efficient, low-cost engineering. He was thinking about transportation systems, about energy, about the fundamental problems facing humanity. But one problem kept pulling him back, a challenge that seemed both impossibly large and deeply personal. The Internet, the web, was growing exponentially in the mid-90s, a chaotic, disorganized explosion of information. It was like a library with millions of books, but no card catalog. Finding anything was a matter of luck. To everyone else, this was just an annoyance. To Larry Page, it was a fundamental flaw in the system. He arrived at Stanford for his PhD in computer science with a list of 10 potential dissertation topics. But the web haunted him. He kept coming back to its structure, its interconnectedness. Most people saw web pages as isolated documents. Larry saw the links between them as votes. A link from one page to another wasn't just a navigational tool. It was a signal of authority, a recommendation. This was a profound conceptual leap that almost everyone else had missed. What if the importance of a web page was undetermined by how many times a word appeared on it, but by how many other important pages linked to it? The idea was elegant, almost poetic. It mirrored how reputation works in the real world. But how could you possibly analyze every link on the entire web? The scale of the task was astronomical. It was at this moment of intellectual crossroads that he met a man who was his perfect counterpart. Sergey Brin was everything Larry wasn't. He was outgoing, charismatic, and gregarious, a mathematical prodigy with a flair for debate. When they first met, they reportedly found each other obnoxious, arguing about nearly every topic. But beneath their clashing personalities, they shared a deep intellectual respect and a restless ambition. They were both outsiders, united by a belief that the biggest questions deserved the most audacious answers. Larry brought his quiet, systematic vision of the web structure. Sergey brought the mathematical rigor and algorithmic expertise to make that vision a reality. Together, in their dorm room, they began a project they initially called Buckrub. The name was a nerdy joke, a reference to analyzing the web's backlinks. Few people knew this at the time, but they were about to lay the foundation for a global empire from a messy room filled with cheap, cobbled-together computers. They developed an algorithm they called Page. It was the mathematical embodiment of Larry's dream. The algorithm didn't just count links. It evaluated the quality of those links. A link from a major university website was worth far more than a link from an obscure personal blog. It was a recursive, self-referencing system of immense complexity. When they finally unleashed it on a dataset of the web, the results were astonishing. They were light years ahead of every other search engine, which mostly relied on simple keyword matching. But here, another of Leary's childhood lessons kicked in. A great invention wasn't enough. They tried to sell their technology. They went to Yahoo, to Alta Vista, to all the big players of the day, and one by one, they were all rejected. The executives didn't get it. They didn't see why search needed to be any better. They saw search as a minor feature, not a destination. One CEO even told them he didn't want his search engine to be too good, because he wanted users to stay on his portal, not leave to find answers elsewhere. It was a moment of profound doubt. They had a technology that they knew could change the world, but the world didn't seem to want it. They could have given up, sold the algorithm for a modest sum, and finished their PhDs. But Leary's vision was too strong. He wasn't just building a better search engine. He believed he was building the first true artificial intelligence, a system that understood the collective intelligence of humanity. He and Sergey decided to do the one thing they had resisted: start their own company. With a $100,000 check from Sun Microsystems co-founder Andy Bechtolsheim, made out to a company that didn't even exist yet, Google Inc. was born in a friend's garage. This wasn't just a new beginning. It was an act of rebellion against the short-sightedness of the established tech industry. As Google grew from a garage startup to a global phenomenon, Larry's leadership style remained true to his roots. He was the quiet visionary, the chief question. He pushed his engineers with a simple but maddening philosophy he called 10x thinking. He wasn't interested in making something 10% better. He wanted to make it 10 times better. He believed that achieving a 10x improvement often required a complete rethinking of the problem, which was easier than trying to make small, incremental gains. This was the mindset that led to Gmail, with its unheard-of gigabyte of storage, to Google Maps, which digitized the entire physical world, and to Android, which put a supercomputer in billions of pockets. He was less a manager and more a moonshot catalyst. But this relentless forward push also came with challenges. As Google became a corporate behemoth, the pressure to focus on quarterly earnings and shareholder value began to clash with Larry's long-term, exploratory nature. For a time, he stepped back from the CEO role, feeling that his passion lay in inventing the future, not managing the present. But he eventually returned, more focused than ever on pushing Google beyond search and advertising. This led to the creation of Alphabet, a parent company designed to liberate Google's most ambitious projects, from self-driving cars to life extension research, from the constraints of the core business. It was Larry S.'s ultimate expression of his childhood realization: you need a structure that protects and nurtures world-changing ideas. In recent years, Larry Page has largely withdrawn from the public eye. He is one of the most powerful and influential people on the planet. Yet he remains an enigma, preferring the company of engineers and thinkers to the glare of the media spotlight. His legacy isn't just a search box. It is the very framework through which we now access knowledge. He took the chaos of the digital universe and gave it a structure, a logic, a soul. He taught us that the most powerful connections are the ones we can't always see. His story is a testament to the power of a single, audacious question. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound changes in the world don't come from the loudest voices, but from the quietest minds, the ones patient enough to take everything apart, just to see how it all fits together. What grand, seemingly impossible question are you trying to answer in your own life? Because as Larry Page has shown us, pursuing that question might just be the thing that changes everything. Thanks for watching. Follow for more stories that shape our world.